Some of you were here for our meeting earlier this year called Secrets to Wellness. How many of you were here to attend Secrets to Wellness? So a few of you, that's good. I really enjoyed that program. Meantime, we have said, no, we probably shouldn't. Well, we better not. And finally, we just got tired of saying that. We've been to too many Zoom meetings. We're zoned out on Zooms. We said, let's take the risk. We discovered that you're safe eating food. That's not a problem, but not with your masks off, probably, in a room like this. So you will be getting samples, but those will come at the end of the program. Hot, right from the kitchen to your hand. You can eat them outside, in your car, or take them home. That's out Maryland. Welcome. So we hope that works out well for you. My name is Dina Guthrie, and I'm one of the coordinators for our health outreach here at the DeBary-Orange City Seventh-day Adventist Church. We have a real variety planned for you tonight. We'll be doing some exciting cooking demos right here in this room, and that screen there is going to help you see, those of you at the back, more clearly what's going on up here at the front. And then the same program is projected into the sanctuary. So if somebody feels uncomfortably too close to anyone in here, you're welcome to move in there for more space. Later on, we will all be moving in there for the lecture, which is another piece of our program. And we have every other row closed off. We think you can be comfortable in there safely seated apart from one another. Probably 30 or 40 people on each side of the sanctuary will be just fine. You'll have a mini concert to listen to as you walk into that room. You can sit down and relax while we wait for the program to start in there with Dr. George Guthrie. We have door prizes tonight too, quite a few of them, so that's going to be fun as well. We've worked hard to keep this as safe as we possibly can. If it works out well for all of us and you feel good about it and we feel good about it, we've got other events planned. And I thank Sarah McRoberts for putting together this form for us. If you didn't get one, when you are ushered out, you can pick one up on your way out that tells you about our upcoming events. The Popcorn and Movie Night on December 5. That's going to be a film that has not been shown widely yet. It's called Plant-Wise. It's excellent. I've seen it in its the pre-stage just before they are ready to release it, and it is excellent, very motivational. So you do want to mark your calendars for December 5, right here in this same facility. We have Dr. David DeRose, a syndicated radio host, physician, very widely published in peer review literature and in some books as well. We're very fortunate to have him coming all the way here from Indiana. So we're blessed to have him most of Saturday on January 16. So mark your calendar for that as well. And then in February, we hope to start our CHIP class again. How many of you have been through CHIP? Interested to see? We've got some wonderful graduates here who are making tremendous progress, I know. I don't want to waste another minute because we've got a lot planned for you tonight. So before I introduce Raluca and her daughter Sarah McRoberts, I would like to thank our pastor, Ron Merchant, for being willing to come and share with us a little devotional thought and a prayer blessing on our time together this evening. And Pastor, I just want to say a big thank you to you and the board for your willingness to open up the facility. It takes a little bit of bravery to do that. So we thank you so much for making it available to us.
Good evening. So good to see you this evening. You braved this cold weather, huh? How many feel really? Anyways, we have a few crackers. I'm originally from, a different country. It's called Texas. But I've had the pleasure and joy of being here in the DeBary-Orange City Church, for 9 years. And so happy that you can be here tonight and to see that you are interested, in your health. And some people ask, well, why does a church even have anything about health? Is God really interested in our health? And the thing that when people ask me that question, the first thing that comes to my mind is an event that took place in Daniel chapter 1, where we find Daniel and his three friends were taken captive by King Nebuchadnezzar when they overthrew Jerusalem. And they were taken back to Babylon as captives. And they looked, for men, who were good looking, who were intelligent, it says, who possessed knowledge, who were quick to understand, had an ability to understand and to serve in the king's palace, to learn languages and literature, the Chaldeans. And so the king set it up for them to be trained for 3 years. And it says that during those 3 years, that they had a special diet for these men, a diet that consisted of the king's wine and of the delicacies that would be on the king's table, all kind of stuff. And Daniel, when he took a look at that, he said, well, wait a minute. I have never done that in my life. And I'm going to stay true to God, to my beliefs, and I'm not going to do that. And so he went to the one who was watching, over them and asked, if they could have a test that would last for 10 days. And instead of them receiving all the food on the king's table and the wine, he said, give us veggies and water. And of course, the steward, he really wasn't too excited about doing that, because if they looked worse after the 10 days than everybody else, he said that he would lose his head. Nobody here wants to lose their head, do you? There are some people who lose their head about different things, but this was a little cutting off of the head. And so finally, they talked him into doing that. And so for 10 days, they had the veggies and the water to drink. And at the end of the 10 days, they took a look at them, and they were healthier looking than anybody else. And so, the steward went ahead then and took them off of, the king's food, the king's wine. And they stayed on that diet of veggies and water for 3 years. And after 3 years, they went before King Nebuchadnezzar. And Nebuchadnezzar took a look at them and said, there's something different about these men here. And it turned out that they were 10 times better. 10 times better than anybody else. Physically and mentally. And that shows us something. That God has a plan for us. He wants us to be as healthy as possible. And so we want to follow his plan. We want to do what we can to be Do you want to be healthier? Does anybody who want to be healthier physically? Yeah, I'm in a high-risk category for heart problems. And so I do what I can, to keep that away. I'm also have a blood sugar deal going on. And actually, Dr. Guthrie is my doctor that helps me out. And he says, I'm one of those that it's not because of the fact that I'm overweight or I don't get exercise, because I do. I'm just one of those, or the pancreas isn't putting out the insulin for whatever reason. But I do what I can to keep that blood sugar under control by what I eat, exercise, and so on. God has a plan for us because he wants us to be healthy, here on this earth. And so I'm glad that you're here tonight and to take charge of your bodies. And so as we enter into this, seeing all this good food up here and what Dr. Guthrie will have to say a little bit later, let's pause and ask the Lord to be with us. Father in heaven, Lord, I thank you for this beautiful evening. And I thank you for each and every one who is here tonight and who is interested in taking charge of their bodies, of being healthier. And so, Lord, be with the presentation tonight. We just ask for your blessing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you so much. Those of you who've been through the CHIP program may know that just in 10 days, you can see remarkable differences. It's amazing. I'm looking forward to the first of the year when we can do that again. Right now, we're going to introduce Raluca and Sarah McRoberts. And behind the scenes, their son Josiah and his team who are taking care, thank you so much, of making sure that we're well projected and the sound is working. So come on in, ladies. These two ladies happen to be the most outstanding chefs. Raluca comes from a line of chefs, I discovered. It's not just she, but her uncle and her sisters and her brother. I think he opened a restaurant in Spain, and I just learned all this the other day. So in addition to their many other things they do and their talents, cooking is way up at the top of the list, and hospitality right there beside it. I've never been in a home, I don't think I can remember one, that opens the door with such joy to people coming in to share. Open-hearted hospitality begins with good food and a great attitude, and these people have it. So we're looking forward to what you have to share. Raluca and Sarah McRoberts.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm so glad you're here tonight. I'm so glad you've chosen today to come and spend this time with us. And I hope that when we actually get to go home tonight, that you will be having some excellent recipes in your hand, that you can be excited about this Thanksgiving. Now, I already had some of you ask me, are these real? What do you think? Yes. Are they real? Yes. Well, the only thing that's not real is these leaves, but I wanted to share with you about an amazing oregano that I'm growing in my own garden. This is Cuban oregano, and it smells so good. If you want to, you have my permission to come and take a little leaf and break it. Just make sure nobody else touches it afterwards, okay? All right. So before we start, Dina actually wanted to share with you, as you open your recipe booklet, you will see the first recipe is the bread dressing. And so we're going to be presenting a whole plant recipes collection tonight. And the first one, just stay right with it. Try not to go to the next one. The first one is the bread dressing. And she's just going to share with you a couple of things that she does to make Thanksgiving a special holiday with a dressing. How many of you actually have bread dressing for Thanksgiving? Okay, most of us do, right? So Dina is going to come on up, and she's going to quickly share with you what she does.
Very quickly, actually. Can you hear me all right? Okay.
Maybe
maybe we could put the dish out where you can just show it around a little bit. I just want to show you what the final product looks like. I'm not going to make this, but just to show you what it looks like. And we love it at our house. However, I don't always use the chickette. Do you see the little rounds in there? Instead of using turkey, poor bird, we use a frozen roll of chickettes, or you can get the turkey roll. Or you can make your own vegetarian gluten to put in there and slice it very nicely. That's a whole lot less expensive. So we think this looks nice. We dress it up with a little bit of cranberry sauce or gravy, and it turns out to be, I think, a great substitute for the turkey. Now, there's a couple things in there that you may not be that familiar with. Have you ever tried water chestnuts before? So I'm thinking water chestnuts, what about them has any food value? So on the way over here, one of the gals that was riding with me, sitting way at the back, read to me online some of the food value in these things. They're high in fiber, they help to fill you up, and they have a bit of manganese and potassium, and what else, Emily, is in here that, yeah, those are two of the things that stand out. So they're not just like chewing on celery, they've got a lot of goodness in them, and they help to fill you up. I think you all know about using olive oil. It's one of the preferred oils. If you're using an oil, my favorites are always canola oil or olive oil. I know canola got a bad rap for a while, but it's fine. You can talk to my husband about that later. McKay's chicken seasoning. Again, you don't have to sacrifice a chicken to come up with chicken seasoning that's just fine. So this is the one I use. You can get it at the Adventist Book Center. Now, the chicken roll is expensive. My husband is coming this evening. I'll show you that chicken roll when we get into the other room. He's not quite here yet from work, and he had to stop by and pick it up for me. Simple. If you have any questions about it, feel free to call me. I think on your advertisement for the program, my number is there, so feel free to be in touch.
Well, thank you so much, Dina. That looks so amazingly delicious, doesn't it? I feel like having Thanksgiving dinner tonight already, don't you? So let's talk about Thanksgiving. When you think of Thanksgiving, what do you think of? Food, right? A lot of us think of food. And one of my favorite times and one of my favorite memories of Thanksgiving is cooking and making cookies with my father-in-law. He passed away, and so I just think of Thanksgiving and I think of the wonderful, wonderful memories that we have had together. Even him in his 80s, he would just sit with us in the kitchen or stand and make cookies with us. It was just so wonderful and so fun. So Thanksgiving is a time to cook, is a time to get together, to gather around the table, and to find a time to be thankful. And hopefully that carries with us year-round, right? It shouldn't just be a Thanksgiving. We're just so grateful for each other and for family and for this time to cook. Okay, so let's go to recipe number 2, which is called the holiday knot loaf. Okay, now, I don't know about you all, but I did not grow up vegetarian. As a matter of fact, when I was my daughter's age and younger, my dad would go out in the yard and chop up the head of the chicken and hand it over to me. And I was supposed to take this chicken, get the feathers out, and start boiling water. I had biology class. I would just cut the chicken open. I said, we're going to make cabbage with this, and we're going to make soup with this, and we're going to make moussaka with this. Well, actually, that was beef. But we raised a lot of our own food. We had chickens and pigs and sheep, and we had like a little farm. And so I did not grow up vegetarian. So when I was 17, I got to know God, and I learned about healthy eating. And I'm so grateful for that, because when I was 18, I came to the United States, and the college I went to was totally vegetarian. And so I did not like the food at all at first. I would go in my room, and I would go to cafeteria, and I saw just peas, and I thought, peas? In my culture in Romania, we have peas and cream and all this, onions and garlic and peppers. We cook a lot with onions and peppers and garlic, and I said, peas like that? I don't know if I would like them, and I didn't like them at first. And so I would go to my room, and I would take bread and peanut butter. I've never had peanut butter till I was 18, and bananas and honey. And I did like that, of course. And that's what I would eat. And so eventually my taste buds changed. After eating healthier and healthier, I started liking the peas, and I started liking the roast, and I started liking some of your American food, and of course they had a variety of Asian food. And so I started to enjoy it. And so if some of you are thinking to go that way, just try it and go for a while, and then your taste buds will change. Going back to the nut loaf, of course most of us eat meatloaves, right? And so I wanted to give you a very simple alternative. So the first thing you do, you take the tofu, and it's already pre-measured here in the blender, and this is a Vitamix blender. How many of you have a blender in your home? There are a variety of brands. Okay, so you just take the tofu, and I just wanted to say all the food that we're making, we're not serving. All the food that we have made to serve you tonight, we have, we are very careful. We had hairnets and masks the whole time, and sanitize to protect you guys. So tonight, the food we're making is for our family, so we're okay with it, okay? So if you see us touching it and like being less than 6 feet apart and not having a mask, is because we're going to be okay eating it later, okay? So we take the tofu, and what says in your recipe? You read it to me back, so that if you have any questions, this is the time to ask them. How much water? Half a cup of water. What's next? Yes, so garlic. Do you guys like garlic? Yes. Wow, is garlic good for us? As a matter of fact, my mother-in-law, who also passed away, she just turned 89 in February, so we just lost her a few months ago. Very sad. She was just such an amazing lady. At 50, she started gymnastics. And in her 80s, Sarah, what did she do in her 80? Tell us about your grandma.
She did backflips, back handsprings, and back layouts off the bars. And I remember one time I was sitting in gymnastics, or I was doing gymnastics, and my mom was sitting next to these ladies, and she's like, yeah, I put my kids in gymnastics. I mean, you can't do this when you're in your 80s, right? And my mom's like, actually, my mother-in-law does back handsprings, backflips, and all of this at 80 years old. And about, I don't know, towards the end of her years, the last 40 or 50 years of her life, she started eating healthier, so she reaped the benefits of a healthy lifestyle.
Okay, very nice. I wish you had met her. She was such an amazing lady. She was really fun to be around, and I'm very grateful to have had all those years to spend with her. But she was mostly whole plant vegetarian. So what's next on the recipe? What? Brax. Have you guys seen this before? It's everywhere now, and I tried to find most of my ingredients at local supermarkets that are not easy, hard to find. And so how many of the Brax? 1 tablespoon. And how many teaspoons make a tablespoon? 3, that's right, okay. And what's next? Cornstarch, and how much of that? Half a cup. Wow, that's a lot of cornstarch, but we need it, right? So I actually like to use the cornstarch that is non-GMO, and it's actually hard to find. And I like, they have them at Publix, I think, and I was just in California a couple weeks ago, and I found this at a little store up in Weimar, California, and they actually had the bigger one, because I cook a lot with cornstarch. So this is non-GMO cornstarch, but you can find the smaller one like Walmart or Winn-Dixie or Publix. Okay, what's next on the recipe? Yes, so we put salt, and this is my favorite. This is actually Himalayan salt, and then I love this container because it has like little holes right here, and then this one opens up, so when you're measuring, you can put your teaspoon in here, and see, you can measure really easily. Okay, salt, and what else? Onion powder, 1 tablespoon. So here we go. So 3 teaspoons. What else? And I love the Simply Organic brand. I try to buy as much as I can organic, and we are so blessed in this country because organic things have become so much more affordable than they used to be. Now, sometimes you go to the store and the organic is on sale, and the other one is not. So I'm very grateful. Okay? And so it says Italian seasoning or sage, right? So it's just whatever you feel like. Sometimes you just put Italian seasoning. Sometimes I like to do both. So I'm going to put a little bit of the Italian seasoning and sage. And let me share something with you. I grew up in a family and in a culture where we really didn't follow recipes. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of fun to, let me add this little thing, or let me add this little thing. So here's the sage. And we put it in there. And what do we do next? Did we miss anything? No, we just got it all in here, and yeah, we got it all. So we're going to blend it, and we're going to blend it for a few minutes. You don't need it for a long time. And now we're going to take this is the bread, and I'm going to make it into breadcrumbs at the same time. Okay. And I kind of check to make sure they're, well, this is a great bread that is sprouted. If you eat gluten-free, just use one of your favorites. It's just very versatile. So I just do 3 to 4 cups of that. And I just do it in the food processor here. So then I just measure, and it's anywhere between 3 to 4 cups. I made way too much, but that's okay. So here is 3 cups, and I'll just do 3.5. And I may just need to add some a little later. And I'm just going to go ahead and put that here. And then we do what? We just, at the same pan, the food processor. How many of you have a food processor? Most ladies do, right? And the pecans, I use pecans. You can use walnuts if you wanted to, but I like pecans. It just gives you more like a meaty flavor. And I just take it back in here, and I grind it. And I check, and I like mine very, very ground. Can you see that? It's very, very ground. So I put all of that in here. And then we do what? We mix it with the mixture from the blender, and we add onions. Now, what are the health benefits of onions? Are they packed with good nutrients? Yes, they have antioxidants. They're loaded with antioxidants. As a matter of fact, I had a friend, he was going to school in Michigan, and he would have these boils that would just come back. He would have a boil, it will heal, it will come back. And one time, his wife was a nurse, and they could not figure out what to do. And so she was researching and came up with this poultice that she could make with juice from the onion, or something she did with the microwave. She actually told me the recipe, but I can't think of it right this moment. But she used onions, and her husband, within like the next day, his boils started getting better and better and better. It was the power of onions. So here goes the onions. We have 2 cups, and I'm going to show you later how I cut them. Look how they're cut. I don't know if you can see, they're cut like in almost perfect pieces, and I'll show you the tool I use. So those are the onions, and I like a lot of onions, but if you don't, it's okay. Just use less. And then I will mix it all with the blended mixture that we did there with the tofu and the water and all the different spices. And then you just mix it all together here. And you can spray a pan to put it in, or you can just use this kind that is supposed to be non-stick, whatever you may have handy. I actually spray a little bit of spray just to make sure it doesn't stick. So we just mix it really well. I hope you can see that mixture there. And then we bake it. And I have to share with you, and you may want to add there on your recipe, I bake mine a lot longer than the recipe says. So you just have to, you don't want it to be like a casserole. You want it to be a roast that you actually, a loaf that you can actually slice. And at my home, what we do with this, after we eat it as a loaf and we get tired of it, we can make sandwiches with it, right? You just slice it and use it for sandwiches. Any questions so far? Any questions? Okay, so let me share that with you. So if you go there to baking, remove foil, and so you bake on cover for 30 minutes. Sometimes I do 45. It just depends how thick. Now, if you make yours, like let's say you take this and you make 2 different loaves, then I wouldn't bake it as long. But if you are going to put the whole thing in, let me show you what it looks like so you can see the quantity. So sometimes I make 2 out of 1 recipe because my husband likes things crunchy and he doesn't like things like not cooked well. And then I bake it for about 2 hours uncovered. So you may want to add that there. This is a recipe from a lady that has a restaurant, I believe in Oregon or somewhere on the West Coast. And it's an excellent cookbook. It's called 7 Secrets. And so if you want yours, you can just use that much. So not quite full. Or if you want to do it quite full, you can, and just bake it longer, okay? So just baking may vary, depends of your oven. I think I might have used my convention oven as well. So you just press it down and bake it on cover for 30 minutes and, cover for 30 minutes and uncover for up to 2 hours depending on how you want it. So you just kind of check, put your fork in it, go with that. So when you're all done with it, then we will have I'll show you what it looks like. And what I did is I put a little bit of, on mine, I put a little bit of, I don't have time to make a special topping for it. So I just do a little bit of ketchup and a little bit of tomato sauce. And let me just wash my hands because I am going to be serving this to you guys. And I need to put my mask on because I want to show you the result. Okay. Let me wash my hands again. This COVID has added quite a bit of work, right? We had to wear masks at home, and my kids were like, "Mom, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, we're going to be serving this food to these precious people, so we want to respect." So this is the end result here. And here's your roast for Thanksgiving. And you put that with the herb gravy. You see it there? And so, any questions so far? Yes?
Could you freeze some of those?
Yes, as a matter of fact, let me just put it back. And then I'll answer that question. So, all the recipes that we have made for you tonight can be made ahead of time. How many of you like cooking on Thanksgiving Day? Nobody, right? You want to be with family. You want to party, right? And so I made all these recipes can be made ahead of time. As a matter of fact, I made the roast. I believe, let's see, today is Monday. I think I made it last Wednesday or Thursday, and I froze it. You freeze it, then I left it out for maybe an hour, and I put it back in the oven at low temperature because you don't want it to dry out. So make sure you have it covered, and I warmed it up for you today. So that's the beauty of it all, that all these recipes can be made 24 hours or longer in advance, so it's great. Any other questions? Yes? Say it again. Oh, tofu. That's a very good question, and one of my friends here, I hope it's here, I was going to show it to you, but I'm not sure where she put it. One of my friends put it away. Betty, the tofu, do you have that? Oh, I guess she's not here. Betty put the tofu away. It's sprouted tofu, organic. I always buy organic. So soy. Soy, I used to think my sister-in-law, my mother-in-law were very much against soy because sometimes they thought it was, not good for us or whatever. So too much estrogen, whatever. But after researching it, we do use soy. The best way to use soy is in natural form, like a soybean, organic, non-GMO. So if you buy tofu and we use some of it, we like to use it sprouted if you can, and make sure it's non-GMO at all times. This one here I purchased at Costco. And it's the best price because you can buy I think 4 in a little box for $5, $6. It's very affordable and it's fantastic. Organic sprouted tofu. Okay, very good question. Anybody else? Yes?
So in the recipe, in the instructions, number 2, it says combine remaining ingredients in mixing bowl, add butter, soda, or soybeans, and mix well. So I wanted to ask, so
Yes, you could use soybeans. Yes.
soybeans,
Yes. Cooked soybeans. You can use edamame if you like. It will be a little more, green. Yeah. Or actually the white soybeans. As a matter of fact, in Romania, they didn't have tofu. When I first became a vegetarian, I would go back to visit my homeland. They didn't have tofu. So my mom would get beans and cook them like regular beans and she would make pate and spreads from that. So, yeah. Very good question. So you can use the soybeans that you can buy at the store, soak them. I would soak them and then cook them in your pressure cooker or Instapot. That's my favorite, Instapot. Any questions? Yes.
what place sells soybeans?
I'm not sure here. That's a very good question. Maybe the Adventist bookstores. How many of you are familiar with Adventist bookstore? It's called A Better Choice, and it's in Altamonte Springs, not too far from Costco. So if you have a Costco membership, it's just basically across the street, almost. Yes? DeBary Bakery. I'm sorry, DeLand Bakery. Yes, DeLand Bakery. How many of you are familiar with their bread? They make a really good millet bread, so they carry soybeans. Yay! You just have to go up north if you live in Orange City and DeBary. If you live north of here, it will just be a short drive, just north of Stetson University. Very good question. Anybody else? Yes?
I just had a comment on the person who asked about tofu.
Yes.
You can actually make that at your home quite easily. All you have to do is soak the soybeans and then blend them in a blender with some water, and then you boil it, the mixture, and then you just add some lime, and it will actually create something very close to tofu.
That's awesome. And so if you want to make your own tofu, go for it. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that comment. A lot of people do. Yes?
You can also make tofu out of chickpea flour, which is actually easier. You just boil the water and you mix the flour in and then you let it sit. So
Okay.
it's a good alternative.
That's great. Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing. Anybody else? Any questions? Okay, we're going to do a door prize now. And when my friends bring me the tickets, I think we're ready to get the first door prize. You actually get to pick. Yes. Right here. They're right here. Dina, the first person that picks. Okay, let's read the number.
Our number is...
Get your tickets out. All right, the number ends in 874. 874. All right, come right on up. We're going to let you choose. From on top of the refrigerator here, we've got several really nice items for you to choose from. And congratulations. Glad you won that. We've got chia seeds, we've got a wonderful video, maple syrup, a great cookbook, a coffee table book. Just help yourself to your first choice. Or are you with your wife? Maybe you'd like to send him a little sign. Why don't you come up too? All right. I know how this goes.
While they are making their choice, let's do one more, since we've got several here tonight. Number 852. Oh, wonderful, right on the front row. Excellent. All right. Let's give them a hand. My friend Julie, all the way from Forest Lake. That would have been my first choice, too. I'm glad we called you up. By the way, while Julie's picking out her gift, this is how the chickettes come in a frozen layer like this. And you can get them at a better book choice. No, a better choice, sorry. There we go, sorry. So this is just the little roll. These come in $30 big fat rolls, which is what we're feeding you tonight. But next time I do this, I'm going to try making my own a gluten product. And my sister has a recipe for one. You can just slice it up. And if you're interested, give me an email. My email is on your invitation. I'll be happy to send you the recipe. Or it's in 7 Secrets if you have that cookbook. So, okay, I think we're ready for the next one.
Thank you so much. Great, awesome. Okay, what's the next recipe on your booklet? Green bean casserole. Now, that's something I had to get used to, because that's not something we eat in my country at all. So how many of you like green bean casserole for Thanksgiving? Wow, awesome. Well, because I did not grow up making it, okay, we'll wait. That's all right. It's fun to chatter, isn't it? Because we did not grow up making it, I had to try. I tried a lot of recipes, and a lot of them are with broth and flour, and I didn't like them. I didn't think they were creamy enough, and I was like, I don't like it. I want to keep trying. And then a friend was over, and she said, oh, you should try this way. But then it was not a complete recipe. It didn't have any quantity of the beans. It didn't have anything. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to work on this myself. So a couple weeks ago, I think it was, I worked on this recipe. So when you make it, and if you have any suggestions, please feel free. I want to perfect it, okay? So you're kind of like my guinea pigs. Is that okay? Okay, I hope it's good. Okay, so first of all, beans. Make sure you use French beans, because green beans, they're much better. But I already cooked them because it will save a lot of time tonight. I already cooked them for 5 minutes. These were frozen, so you can use fresh is better. But I used frozen this time. And this is the way we have it here tonight, and this is the way you should make it. But because we cooked for you guys, we had to cut them small because we had to, we're doing samples, okay? That's okay with you? Okay, so those are the beans. And so let's read the recipe together. So that first step is done, right? We preheat the oven, we bring the water to a boil, we cook them, and we place them in a 9x13 casserole, right? Then what do? We blend the cashews. And so what's going on with the cashews? Why are my cashews in water? Do you see I have them in water? Does anybody know why I'm soaking them? To soften them. And what else? There's another reason. And it's an acid, the pyritic acid, and it's found in them, and it's actually an anti-nutrient. And so it's very important to soak them. It's best to soak them for a few hours. I try around 6 hours. Let me give you an example. We have Sarah's piano professor from Stetson. Her daughter cannot have cashews unless she soaks them overnight. You soak them in water in the refrigerator, so they can be good for 3 to 5 days. If you soak them just on your countertop, make sure you rinse them afterwards and refrigerate them. So rinse and refrigerate. So what happens when you soak them, it neutralizes the acid, and so it's much more beneficial to our bodies and more digestible. Her daughter, if she doesn't soak her cashews, she will break in acne all over her face. But when she does, no difference. It's fantastic. She can have it. So when they came over, I had to make sure I soaked my cashews, because sometimes, we get busy and we don't do it. But this is what I get at Costco. They have raw cashews now for a very good price, and they're organic. I like good quality cashews. You can get them cheaper in other places, but they're kind of dirty, and I just like the Costco one. So if you don't have a membership, your local health food store like Debbie's here in Orange City, DeLand Bakery, Whole Foods delivers to our area, which is amazing. So cashews, make sure you soak them, Remember to soak them, because when you do that, then they become much more digestible and it kills that acid. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take the water out, and I'll probably rinse it just to make sure that we get all that dirt out. Okay, and we're going to blend the cashews, and while we're doing that, I'm going to have Sarah put all the ingredients here that are supposed to blend. And so we are going to do the water, the cornstarch, the coconut milk, the onion powder, yeast flakes, and the amino liquids, I'm sorry. This is the one we bought at Walmart or Publix. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to saute the vegetables. And I want to show you the coolest tool I have that I just recently got. How many of you have this? You have it, right? Don't you love it? And let me tell you, when I was a little girl, we had an uncle that was an amazing chef. And he would come to our house for the holidays. And my cousins would come from the big city. We lived in the countryside in a beautiful mountain town, kind of like, it was called the Romanian Alps of Switzerland, but it's called the Romanian one with beautiful snow-peaked mountains. And they would come to visit us. And he would line us up, say, come on, girls, come on, no more time to play. You got to come cook. And I'm like, oh, but we want to play. We don't get to see each other very often. We want to play. He said, no, come. I'm going to teach you life skills that you'll have for the rest of your life. So he would line us up at the table with onions and peppers and garlic, and he would give us lectures about cutting vegetables. And so I remember those days, and I've learned a lot from him, and I do cut them with my knife, and I try to be careful. You kind of do your fingers like this so that you don't cut. But if you're busy like I am, I have found this tool to be amazing. So what I do is I get it all cleaned up, and I take the onion, I cut them in slices, and I just push down. And so what it does, it makes the pieces so evenly. I love it. Sorry. It's just a little, it's Vidalia chopper, I think. Vidalia, yes. I bought this at Bed Bath & Beyond, and I think you can probably get it on Amazon. Amazon carries most everything now. So the key is, see how this piece is kind of big? So the pieces will be bigger as you put them through. So I just go through and cut it again. And I just love this because now I'm going to get ready to saute this on this amazing induction stove that we borrowed from our sister church in Altamonte Springs called Forest Lake Church. They allowed us, Dina used to be there, so they allowed us to borrow their stove, so we thank them. If some of you are here visiting, thank you for letting us borrow it. But we didn't have an oven at our church yet. We're in the process of getting an oven. When they built the church, we're not able to have that oven put in, so we're going to get an oven, so hopefully next time you come to see us, we'll have it in. So I've already been warming it up, so I'm going to go ahead and saute the onions, and it's going to start smelling amazing in here shortly. And I'm going to go ahead and do the garlic as well. So I take the mushrooms. Actually, let me do the garlic. And I like a lot of garlic, so I just put them in here and put them in the pot here. Cook those up. 3 teaspoons. This 1 tablespoon. Okay, so then we are going to use this. So what I did is I washed the mushrooms, and I'm going to put them in here. Look how quick this is, right? It takes so much less time. I just love it. I'm in love with this thing. You have to clean it well. Yes, it's so much easier than anything. So you saute the onions and garlic for a little bit. Isn't that fast? And so you saute the onions in here, and we are going to turn it on high. So I didn't put any oil in here because what happens when you heat up the pan and you put the onions in, it's going to release the juices, so you don't actually need any oil to saute them. So it's a great way to saute with the onions. Even stainless steel, you just have to make sure it's not burning. So Sarah is getting the mixture. You're watching her at the same time. She's getting it all ready. And she's placed all the sauté ingredients, the blended ingredients, and I'm sautéing this. Then I will continue to chop here. I just like, my children love mushrooms. How many of you like mushrooms? I tolerate them, but they like it so much, I try to use them as much as I can. Sometimes we make sandwiches with them. So here is, see? Okay, so it's cooking. Can you smell it yet? There's nothing like the onion smell, right? So good. We have 40 seconds. Okay. That's good. So it's sauteing. Can you see? Smells good.
I just wanted to make one comment about mushrooms.
Yes.
Dr. Michael Greger had an interesting series on mushrooms. Are those white mushrooms like you're using?
Yes, they're portobello.
I don't know if it's, it is working now. Yes, well, those are portobello, but the white button mushrooms actually have been shown to help reduce breast cancer. So if that runs anywhere in your family, don't be afraid of using mushrooms. They're good for you, and they're very high in protein, a good quality protein as well. And the aroma smell is so wonderful. And Raluca, my sister's also in love with that wonderful slam bang thing that you use for chopping. They're great.
So good. And I love
I went and got one. I went and got one from Bed Bath & Beyond, and I just slap bang, and it's done. It's amazing.
That's right. Isn't that awesome? That's great. Thank you. What about green beans? Are green beans nutritious? Yes. As a matter of fact, they say that green beans, 1 cup of raw green beans contains 33 micrograms of folate, almost 10% of our daily recommended value. So that's very good. Okay, so then what we're going to do is we are going to take the blended. Any questions about the blended? You saw only ingredients. And so we're going to keep this warm here. And we are going to add it. Just make sure it's simmering a little longer. And because of the cornstarch, what is the cornstarch going to do to the mixture? It's going to thicken it, right? And what kind of cornstarch we should buy? The non-GMO one. That's right. And look for it. Look for it at Publix or Walmart or Winn-Dixie. I'm not sure if Winn-Dixie has it, but I just want to make sure that it's cooked well, especially the mushrooms. If you don't like mushrooms, just don't use it. I just wanted to add a few veggies in the casserole. Some recipes come without any, but I thought I liked this so much that I wanted to. Okay, so it's simmering. Okay, so I will just add the gravy here. And what's going to happen is going to thicken, right? Any questions so far? We're waiting for it to cook. Any questions? Yeah, I'm just learning how to cook on this. This is a little induction stove here. Any questions so far? No questions. Okay, good. That means that the recipe is easy. So you're gonna email me, right? If you have any suggestions or if it doesn't come out right, but I hope it does. I don't want you to be disappointed, but this is more creamier than your broth and flour. I just felt like it was creamier, richer. And so I like that. Now, I wrote there that you can put 10 to 12 cups of green beans. And the reason is because some of you may like it very creamy. Some of you may like it less creamy, okay? So you can kind of play. Like if you need more beans, take some out, have them for lunch that day. And, have it like that. If not, just go ahead and use the whole 10. I just use 10 cups, maybe 11 on mine. And you'll see when I go over it. So what I like about this dish is it's very easy. You can make it ahead of time. You will have it ready to go. And so I am just cooking this. Can you see in the stove? It's just starting to thicken. You just have to kind of mix it well and make sure it doesn't get, it just depends what oven and stove you have, range or stove. But mine here is just taking a little longer, and we will have that. Now let me talk to you a little bit about French onions. They are the regular French onions, but if you want to make your own, you can. And you just Google homemade French onions, and you don't actually fry them, you just bake them. And I did mine, I think, was maybe with some yeast flakes and flaxseed meal, and I baked my own. But if you don't have the time, and if it's just once a year treat, go ahead and use this one. These are from Trader Joe's. How many of you have been to Trader Joe's before? Okay, some of you have. Don't you love it? It just makes me feel like I'm in Europe. I just love all the foods. They're so awesome and great food and lots of organic. Okay, so it's still just thickening, and then we will mix them together with the green beans, and then we will bake them for 20 minutes. You just kind of look in the oven and see if 20 minutes is enough. Some of you may like it a little overcooked. It also depends, like I boiled these beans for more than 5 minutes because I tried it after 5 minutes and it was too rough still. So I cooked them for another 2 or 3. So when you're boiling them, make sure it depends how long you want to boil them. You can wait and, let them be a little bit uncooked and bake them for another 10, 15, 20 minutes. But if you want them really cooked, then your baking time will be less. Does it make sense? Okay. So let's just go ahead and put it in here. And you just mix them all. And I'm going to let you, Sarah, take this little, thank you so much. And here it is, and I will show you what it looks like in the end because we have made one ahead of time. I just need to put my mask because you are going to have some tonight. And then you just take the French onions and just sprinkle them over and put it in the oven. Make sure it's uncovered. You do not want to cover this. Uncovered in the oven. Any questions? This is the green bean casserole, and I'm going to get my mask on and show you what they look like. If I can just do it. Here. Thank you so much for helping, Sarah. This is Sarah's senior year, so I don't know what I'm going to do without her. How many of you have children that have gone to college? I know my friend Wendy is here. I know, I can't even imagine not having my amazing daughter to help me. So this is the one I already made. And this is what it looks like when it's finished. Good. It's great. We could have waited a little longer for the sauce to get thicker, but because of time, we went ahead and put it in there, but it will thicken as it cooks. Any questions? Green beans, what do they have in them? Folate, right? And if you do 1 cup of raw green beans a day, how much do we get? 10% of our daily folate need. Excellent. Dina, if we can do the next prize.
All right, let's take a look here. Shuffle, shuffle, and pull out your tickets, please. It's number 810. Anybody with 810? Going, gone. All right, let's go for 830. 830. Anybody raise their hand on that? Okay, we have some booklets out there that weren't picked up, so 860. Oh, no problem. It happens in every kitchen, right? 869. Oh, my friend, Brandon, thank you. Brandon, come on up and take your pick. Thank you. All right. Brandon and I are working together in what's called Health Partnership. If you have filled out that form when you came in, you had an opportunity to choose if you want a health partner to help you set your goals and reach your goals. And I want you to know Brandon is on the fast track, and I'm extremely excited about what's been happening in his life. So if you're interested, click that box, get back to us. We'll be happy to work with you. All right. Are we ready?
Okay, yes. Very good. Thank you so much, Tina. They're so fun, right? Okay, so what's the next in our booklet? Acorn squash. Isn't this beautiful? What a great squash, and I'm so grateful to all my helpers for making this for us. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the first. So what is the first ingredient? An acorn squash. So what do we do here? As a matter of fact, before we do that one, I want you to go on the other side of the paper, and I am so grateful for my daughter that designed these. She spent a lot of time making sure they're pretty. Do you like pretty recipes? They're good to put in a binder, right? So look at the cinnamon glazed pecans. We are not going to demonstrate that recipe because they're very easy. You basically take the pecans, you actually put them on a hot frying pan, and then you let them just really roast a little bit, and then you add a tablespoon of maple syrup, and it will bubble. And then when they cool off, you take them off. You know, she has the instruction there. This is from Monkey and Me Cooking Adventures. And I got a special permission to share this recipe with you. It's a very simple recipe, but it's so yummy, and you will see how beautiful it looks. It's a great Thanksgiving, just to do variety. When I think of food, I like variety. I don't like to get stuck with the old, I make the same thing over and over. It's like an adventure. You know how men love to have an adventure? For me, cooking is an adventure. I love looking at a new recipe and trying to figure them out, right? And it's just been so fun to try this one. It's just very simple. And then once they cool off, you just take a little bit of sprinkled cinnamon, and you sprinkle it over, and it makes for a great pecan. And you get to taste some tonight when you leave this place. Okay, so what does he say? Let's go back now to the roasted maple, to the one that we're going to be doing. And this is the roasted maple glazed acorn squash with cinnamon pecans. And so what does he say there? Instructions. So you put the oven to 400, right? And in a small bowl, you make the glaze. And so how do you make the glaze? You add the maple syrup. And how much maple syrup? 2 tablespoons. So this is organic maple syrup. I also got a Costco. And they actually have an amazing one. My friend Ayla gave this to me as a gift a while back. This one right here. And it's a beautiful, it's called vanilla bean infused. Doesn't that sound good? I'm so excited about it, I don't want to use it up yet. You know how you just keep stuff just because they look so good, you don't want to start it because you want to enjoy it for as long as possible? Okay, so then molasses. How many of you are familiar with what molasses is? Some of you? Right here. You can just buy it at the health food store. And how much molasses? Just 1/4 teaspoon. I didn't actually need to measure because I know what it was, 1/4 teaspoon. So it kind of becomes like a darker color one. Can you tell there? Okay, so there's the maple syrup and the molasses. And molasses is a great source of iron too. I know some people that take it every day to help with that, and it's a natural way to get that in. So now it says to create beautiful half moon slices, right? Sometimes food can be great, and if you just do a little presentation to make it look more beautiful, it makes a world of difference, especially for kids. So what do? We cut the acorn squash at the bottom, kind of like this, and then I'm going to be attempting to cut. I did not bring my Cutco knife tonight, so I may need John to come and help me, if you don't mind. But it has to be perfectly done, John. If you want to wash your hands. That's what thank you, I'm good, I got it. That's what happens when you don't bring your Cutco knives, right? Okay. So, we're going to struggle with this thing. Come on. Cut. So acorn squash is pretty hard to deal with, no? Okay. So I will take the seeds out. Here. Thank you for being willing, John.
John said he has a chainsaw, he'll bring it next time.
We may need it. Yes, so I clean it out. And you may have to, when you cut the pieces, you may have to, but see that? And then I just go like this, and you start cutting, and I may need John all the way. So it's about 3/4 inch here. Let me just see if I can get you guys to see. I think when we remodel the kitchen, we're going to need some new knives, right? Let me have our knives, Sarah. Do you have our knife? I have a great knife that you can get on Amazon, and I think it's even better than this one. See that? Oh man, what a world of difference. So the half moon slices, and so when you get them like this, just kind of I just go around it and take the little pulp area. Do you see that? And that's how you bake them. Maybe even a little bit thicker. And I just kind of clean them, make them look really pretty. And then what do we do with them? Should I try another piece? It's like, I need all that muscle. We do P90X every morning. So this is a good, how many of you have done P90X? No? Okay. Well, it's a great 30-minute workout that we do every morning at what time, Sarah? 6:30. It's crazy. So anyway, it gives you the idea, right? Do you see it? So I just kind of cleaned up pulp so that it looks pretty. So that's another piece. So then what we do is just put them in here, and we kind of like, I'm going to do it with my hands since you're not going to be eating it. So I just glaze one side of it, put it like that, and I bake them in the oven for about 15 minutes. And then when I go back to the oven in 15 minutes, I will glaze them again. And I use a brush, so we bake them like this for about 15 minutes. And then I turn them like this, and because see, I have a little bit left over. Do you see that? So then I turn them, and I brush them again. And that's it. And when you are done with that, I'm going to show you what the result is. And my friend Tina helped me with that today. And you take the pecan, the cinnamon glazed pecans, right? And then you put them together with, and then we take a little bit of pomegranates. Can you see that? Can you see that all the way in the back? And then this is the oregano from our garden. Okay. Okay, you can take some of that. And we only get pomegranates such a short time of year, right? So trying to integrate in everything you eat, take it for breakfast. At Costco, they have these little tiny packages of them. They're called pom-poms. Have you seen these? They're great. They're easy, to just eat without having to cut the fruit. I have a piece of fruit right here. How many of you have never had pomegranate before? Okay, so most of you have had. See it here? That's the pomegranate, so, okay, stay there. Sometimes when you take things. Okay, any questions so far? Was the recipe clear? So far, everything is clear? So just the half moon is the way you cut it, okay? Just make sure you have a very sharp knife. And I didn't realize we didn't have one, so this one is very good, but it's too small. You have to make sure, and have your husband help you, and make sure that they're about this thickness, because you don't want them too thin, otherwise they will bake faster. So if you want them thinner, that's okay, but make sure you don't bake them as long, because you don't want them, especially if you warm them up, because when you warm them up, it makes them drier, and so you want to make sure that they're thick enough to be able to be ready. Okay, Sarah? Yeah, I think it's your turn.
All right, so who here likes cranberry salad at Thanksgiving? Raise your hand. Yes, I do too. There's nothing like the fresh cranberry salad with, the delicious fruit.
Actually, do we need to do a door prize? Yeah, let's do the door prize first.
Got about 2 more prizes. 3 more.
Yay!
855. Number 855. Oh, wonderful. 855. Come on up. We've got maple syrup, chia seeds, which are magical for your health, and a towel set. Chia seeds are really wonderful for lowering cholesterol, filling you up, filling iron, and other nutrients. So those are we're going to be talking about supplements later on tonight, and in a few minutes, and those you can put your little supplements in if that's what you choose to use. While she's looking, we'll do one more, and then Sarah, you can start. 857. Number 8. Wonderful. Come right on up, please. 857. All right. While these ladies are picking out their gifts, let's go ahead and cranberry salad.
All right, so our first ingredient is, what does it say on your recipes on the cranberry salad?
Just wait.
Okay, cranberries.
Just wait. Let's just wait. We'll wait. Somebody's maybe getting chia seeds, no? Okay, don't get scared of the chia seeds. If you want a great recipe, I have an amazing one with passion fruit, where you blend the passion fruit with some soy milk and some other little ingredients, and you put the chia seed overnight. It's so good. I just got that recipe like a few weeks ago in South Carolina. A lady from, I forgot what country, Philippines or something, she gave that to me, so it's really good. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Sarah.
Okay, so our first ingredient is cranberries. Now, cranberries are considered a superfood actually because of their high nutrient and antioxidant content. Now, antioxidants have been shown to protect your cells against free radicals, and that has been shown to play a role in heart disease, cancer, and other diseases. So, if you eat cranberries, it'll protect you against these things. So we just place them here into the food processor.
Yeah, that's good.
And we're going to turn it on.
We may need this one. Okay.
Helps if you turn it on. And once you have processed it, you can take it and put it into your bowl.
Sarah is such a great help in the kitchen. You know, moms, when we have all that cooking to do and she comes and does dishes, oh, it's such a blessing. And most of the week she makes dessert for us. We have a special dessert every Saturday. And so Sarah she just made the most amazing lemon pies last week. They're just like 4 ingredients, and oh, they taste so good. Oh, it's probably because we're the
Closer to
microphones.
each other, yes. Okay, so now we're going to take our apples, which have been pre-cut and peeled, add it in here.
And she actually peeled them. You don't have to peel them, but that's not.
Yes, it's optional. Some people may like that. And apples, as you may know, you always hear an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, it's true. Apples are nutritious, they're good for weight loss, they're good for your heart, and they are linked to a lower risk of diabetes. So add those apples in there. Add your oranges. And we're going to add the raspberries.
And these raspberries are from Trader Joe's. And I bought some from Trader Joe's and I bought some from Walmart. And I can tell you the Trader Joe's ones, the quality, it's a little better, I think.
Yes.
It just depends for the farmers, I guess, right?
All right, and we'll add in here our sugar and the raw. And you can see here, this is the one that we used.
It's non-GMO vegan from Publix. And it's on your recipe as well.
And while I blend this up, we're going to get for you the final product. So it's nice to be able to have this delicious, fresh salad. And once you're done, you let it cool. Here is the final product.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Any questions? Any questions about the cranberry salad? Yes?
So you don't need anything to congeal it?
No.
No?
Yeah.
Very simple, easy, and delicious.
Now you baby gel. No. And if it gets a little juicy, just, get a serrated spoon and just get it out. It's very good. And it's red, right? And it's cranberry. It is not cranberry sauce, right? And so what do we have so far on our plate? We have the loaf. What color is the loaf? Kind of like brown, right? Then we have the green bean casserole. What color do we have on the plate? Green. Then we have the acorn squash, acorn squash is, purple. I mean, not purple. It's orange, right? But what do we have with it? We have the cinnamon, which are brown, and then we have the pomegranate seeds, right? So we get some red in there. Then we have the cranberry salad, right? And so the more colorful your plate can be when you're eating lunch, try to get as much color. Look at the beautiful things that God has made. You just see one color there? No, there's orange and red and brown and light brown. And I don't know how many of you have seen these. They're one of my favorite fruits. Do you know what this is? Persimmon. A persimmon. And look, these are just amazing, amazing things. And one of my favorites, we were in Hawaii last November. Actually, I just saw a picture that reminded me of it. What is this? It's dragon fruit. And I tell you, if you go to Hawaii, you must make sure you go to their farmers markets. That's where you get the best fruit. I would go and spend over $100, and I would get all this native foods there that they actually have on their island, Kauai. And these were so good. We got the red ones, and we ate. Sometimes that's all we ate for our meal. It was just so, so delicious. All right. So what do we have last on our booklet there? Is the pumpkin pie. So let me ask you this. And these are some interesting facts about pumpkins that I wanted to share with you guys that I just learned myself. Did you guys, let me ask you this, do you know which state does not grow pumpkins? I'm sorry, no, continent. From all the continents, the 7 continents, there's one continent that cannot grow pumpkins. Which one is it? Antarctica. Yes, why? Because 24/7 is the icy tundra, right? Okay, do you know how many pounds of pumpkins are produced in the United States? Every year in the United States, we produce 1.5 billion pounds of pumpkin. Okay? Do you know what are the top producing states of pumpkins in the United States? What is it? New York? No? Yes, Pennsylvania?
Idaho?
No, but there's 2 I's, 2 states that start with I. Indiana? They have the Windy City. Illinois. So Illinois, Indiana. It starts with O. Ohio, Pennsylvania, and come on, where does a lot of our fruits and vegetables come from? California. We got to give it to them, right? California. I think my friend Wendy's from there, right, Wendy? Yes, thank you for producing such awesome food for all of us. No, but we can grow them here. I think we're known for oranges, right? And I think my friend Heather is from Tennessee, so I think they do apples there. She brought me this beautiful big bags of bushels of apples, and I made homemade applesauce. Oh, it was so good. We still have some. I was calling my sisters because in my country, my sisters can, from spring, when some of the berries come out, all the way through the summer, and all the way to actually when you can't they can't buy anything at the store anymore except stuff that comes from like other countries, right? So they can so much stuff. As a matter of fact, when I grew up, we hardly bought anything at the store. We didn't go and buy canned tomatoes or, spreads, or we made it all. We worked hard year round to make some of these things. So it's kind of amazing that in America we can just go to the store year round and buy what we need. It's very convenient. Okay, so let me ask you this. Do you know, let's see, what is the heaviest pumpkin that was ever in the world? It says the world's heaviest pumpkin weighed over how many pounds? 2,600 pounds, and I'm told I have like 2 minutes to do the pumpkin pie. So, no more test on pumpkin, sorry. Just look it up online yourself. Okay, so pumpkin pie. All right, so let's go to the pumpkin pie. So what do? And somebody must have got my can opener. Okay, so I need the can opener. Okay, so let me talk to you about the crust. Do you see the crust? This is a gluten-free crust that you can buy at Publix. And this is a whole wheat one that you can buy at Whole Foods. You see those there? They're very wholesome ingredients. And if you do not want to make your own pumpkin pie crust, please go ahead and get these. Publix has the gluten-free one. Okay, any questions about the crust? Okay, I'm waiting for my can opener. Oh, I guess we're still having issue finding it, so why don't I just give you guys some, one more fact about pumpkins that I thought was amazing. Did you know, what do you think pumpkins have in them? What is the powerful antioxidant that pumpkins have in them? Beta-carotene, yes. And so instead of using oil and butter in recipes, you can actually use pumpkin. So don't just use it for, for Thanksgiving. You can use it year round. And when you buy a canned one, make sure the only ingredients on it is pumpkin. The best way to use pumpkin is to take one and bake it and use it yourself. But if you're in a hurry, like I was this week trying to get ready for this, I would just use the canned one. And then what's next in the ingredients? 1 cup of vanilla soy milk. And you know what? The reason we use soy milk is because it's thicker, right? And creamier. And then we use the maple syrup. Okay, here we go. And you do 1/2 cup of maple syrup. Okay, and 1/2 cup of date sugar. This is the healthiest sugar you can buy on the market. It's made out of dates. Dates is one of the best sweeteners, and we use that in our family a lot. And a little bit of salt, just to kind of help those flavors to come out. Just a little bit, actually I used less than, I probably used a 1/4. Okay, and cinnamon, right here. 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. And what is the most important ingredient? What gives them that pumpkin pie? The pumpkin pie spice, and that's 1 teaspoon. Here we go. And what do you do with it? Yep. Whoops. We're having all kinds of, we're trying to hurry now, right? But the blender falling, I didn't know I was stuck to a cable. Thank you, John, for setting that up for me. Well, only one is working right now, so we're going to go ahead and start it. It's fine. And you just mix it. Go ahead, Sarah, and I'll show you what it looks like in the end. And the one thing that you could do is we buy this one. It's made out of coconut milk. You can get this at Publix, at Walmart. And you make sure it stays out about 10-15 minutes. And then you take it, and then you make little cute little things on it. I hope you can see it. And I tell you, I made this for my brother-in-law who's not a vegetarian, and he told me this is like by far his favorite pumpkin pie. And then my friend Heather let me use her little pumpkin. And you just put that right here. So that's the pumpkin pie. All right. Any questions about the pumpkin pie? If not, I think we better go listen to the lecture. I think I'm in trouble.
No, she's not in trouble.
I got carried away with the cooking, yes. Okay, so you're going to eat because of the
Yes.
COVID thing. We can remember last time you came and you guys, it was fun, right? But now we have new restrictions, so we're going to have food for you ready after the lecture. Yes.
I was just going to point out that you forgot to put the cornstarch in there.
Yes, thank you. Yes, make sure you put the cornstarch. And I guess it just disappeared, so you take that with the cornstarch and you put it in the baking.
All right.
Unbaked. Unbaked.
Let's
Okay.
give them a big hand and a big thank you. Unless you have been involved in running a cooking class, you have no idea the work that went behind this quick and exciting program out here tonight. So, number 878, please, 878, and does anybody claim 878? And the next one is 887. It is. I can show it to you. It really, truly is. So you get the chia seeds on the way out. We'll take those up to the front of the auditorium. Tonight, we are going to be dismissing you by rows, and we're going to hurry. We got 15 minutes for a lecture, and we'll cram it in. We promised we'd let you out at 8:15. If some of you want to stay longer, you're welcome to, but we will end the official program at 8:15. Okay, so you can, the first row, please, just move quickly to the auditorium, maintain your social distancing, gather up your things, all the papers on your sheet, one row at a time, please, all the way in.
Let me ask you this. Are you guys okay with staying till 8:30? Because I don't think we'll have enough time to make your packages in 15 minutes. It's impossible.
Oh, that's true.
Do we have your permission to have a 5-minute mini concert while we're getting in there? And then give us a little longer to get your packages made, because it's going to take us longer. We have to work really hard to make this many packages. Would that be okay? Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's keep moving quickly into the auditorium. Thank you. John, our head elder here, is going to direct your progress. so much. Jayla Simons and Raluca's daughter, Sarah McRoberts. Thank you so much for that little concert coming in here. That was really sweet. Now, we have a veggie turkey that we forgot to show you. Would you like to see our veggie turkey?
I do not want to tip it up because it will.
But turn it around because I think those are the eyes. Yeah. All right, there she goes. You can go online and find all kinds of fun veggie turkeys. I've seen some really amazing ones, so they're kind of fun. All right, so while the ladies are loading up our dishes in the other room, I would like to introduce to you my dear friend and husband, George Guthrie. George is the immediate past president of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine that is doing amazing things throughout this country in terms of changing how we think about health. I'm very excited, and so is he, about what's happening there. He teaches in the Family Practice Residency Program at Winter Park, Advent Health Winter Park, and he's written the book and helped with the journal, Eat Plants, Feel Whole. Is that correct? Yes, I should know. I still have to read that book, but I've been hearing some amazing things about it from other people. When I'm not preparing for a cooking school, I'm actually going to sit down and read that book. So anyway, thank you so much for coming, and you are going to share with us about how to boost our immune system over the holidays and throughout COVID. He has no idea who gave him this tie, but it says, "Eat your veggies," and it's got pumpkins on it. So he had to wear it tonight.
It came in the mail last week, and I'm not exactly sure where it came from. I've been asking anybody who comments on it, did you send it to me, right? So you have been hearing all kinds of wonderful things about plants. We heard about onions. We heard about beta-carotene in pumpkins. You have probably heard about the healing qualities, the anti-infective qualities of things like garlic and onion, right? Oregano. I mean, just so many of the plants. And it's very interesting the way God designed these plants. The substances that help to protect the plant from the things that bother it or cause it damage from the environment, the insects and molds and those types of things, are often beneficial for us too. So the colors and all those things work together. So you've had quite a little introduction to that. I thought I might spend a little time telling you about another part of the plant kingdom that is very beneficial for us. Has anybody ever heard of the microbiome? I hear a couple people nodding. Microbiome happens to be, for those of you yet unaware, all the bacteria that live inside our intestines. Ew. Who would have thought that this was important, right? I mean, this is, we eat our food, it kind of sits in there for a while, and then it comes out, and that waste is considered to be a bit of a problem, and so we try to treat it carefully, and I suppose that's the appropriate thing to do. But on its way through, the food that we have, that we eat, feeds a number of bacteria. And it so happens that there are good bacteria and there are bad bacteria. Now, I suppose we should recognize that there are good bacteria in some places, maybe bad bacteria in other places, right? But in the intestine, there is a group of bacteria that are actually beneficial for us. And this group of bacteria loves to feed on fiber. Fiber is the undigestible part of food. We put it in here, it comes out there. So we have thought for years that it was an unnecessary part of our life, and those that have prepared our kind of national food policy have looked at ways to give us calories, and they tend to take fiber out. So when we refine the plants, we tend to pull out the fiber. By the way, by saying the word plants, I reminded myself that plants make fiber. No animal products have fiber in them unless it's been added, from a plant source. So the animal, the cow, for example, eats the grass, which has the fiber in it, and plops the fiber out the back, concentrates the calories. Calories. Did you get it? No, I'm sorry. And so you miss the fiber. So when we eat, the standard American diet is very low in fiber. And when you don't eat that fiber, the good bacteria don't have what they need to feed on. When the good bacteria have lots of fiber, they tend to overgrow and push down the bad bacteria. And it ends up that those bad bacteria tend to, and really the absence of fiber and the absence of good bacteria tends to increase inflammation in our bodies, tends to make the immune system more irritable and more likely to get confused. Sometimes these diseases, for example, maybe you've heard of them, autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis or Hashimoto's thyroiditis. I mean, there's a bunch of these different diseases that can seem to be related to this bacterial balance. And fixing that can make a real difference in the disease. For example, we have some evidence that rheumatoid arthritis will go into remission when people move to a 100% plant-based diet. So those are encouraging type things that will encourage another good reason to eat a lot of plants. And of course, we've been encouraging you to eat a plant-based diet. Okay? So that's one way to help our immune system. Eat the plants that have the kind of anti-inflammatories, the antiviral, antibacterial properties that help us, and then eat a lot of fiber with it. If you refine the plant and you take out all the fiber, think white bread, for example, because the bran is gone, a lot of the vitamins are gone. I know they add some of them back and they call it enriched. But you're missing the fiber that's actually really helping the positive side of your immune system through those good bacteria in your colon. Interesting, huh? So that's a good reason. What else can we do for our immune system? Let's see. It's been about 2 weeks ago that we had the American College of Lifestyle Medicine annual meeting. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but COVID has shut down a lot of meetings. At least we don't go places now. We kind of sit at home and watch on our computers as these lectures happen. And that's the way this meeting went. And one of the lectures, actually the first one that spoke, really sparked my interest. He was an exercise physiologist. And what he was looking at was how exercise affects the immune system. This was very interesting to me as he began to pull about some things that are very important. There's a part of our immune system called natural killer cells. Have you heard of these before? Natural killer cells are really important for taking care of cancer and viral infections. So that has something to do with kind of this COVID business that's going around. So natural killer cells end up in the body's kind of blood vessels. They're there with all the other different white cells. And they make up of all the white cells in the blood around 10 to 15%. When you exercise, these natural killer cells are increased in the bloodstream. Now that happens with all the different white blood cells, but the natural killer cells go up like 40 to 45%. Now, if you've got white cells which are there to fight infection, and you throw them up in the air, that is out into the blood, right? They tend to come down wherever the infection is. So they'll come down where it's sticky. That's kind of how the body sends a message. I need help here with an infection. It makes the blood vessel walls a little bit sticky. These things will attach and then move inside to start to do their work. Fascinating. Doing some exercise can help your immune system mobilize to get where the action is. Now, having more natural killer cells in the bloodstream we might understand that to be beneficial, but we haven't proved it really to be helpful yet. And so he went on with his scientific studies to show us that it's actually the release of you all have heard of adrenaline? So there's adrenaline and noradrenaline. These are kind of stress hormones, and when we exercise, they tend to increase a little bit. When the adrenaline goes up, it actually activates the natural killer cells and says, let's go get it. So that little bit of adrenaline, it's blocked by medications that tend to block the adrenaline as well. So they kind of proved that was actually what was doing it. So it turned on interleukin 6, it turned on interleukin 15. These are the good interleukins that go out to help us fight infection. Pretty good, huh? So we know that diet can make a difference to help us fight COVID. And now we're learning that some exercise is important. How many of you are feeling at risk and maybe sitting at home indoors? I know I talked to some patients today. I haven't been outside. I'm trying to protect myself. Well, you really should get outside and get a little bit of fresh air and a little bit of sunshine and some exercise. And doing that exercise actually helps your immune system. I've discovered it personally. If I start to feel maybe just a little bit sick for whatever the reason, if I can go out and do a run, it just calms that down. I get a little exercise, get my heart going a little bit, and that helps to get that infection under control. So we've got eat your plants, get your fiber, get your exercise. See, how are we doing on time? I guess we're doing okay. Anything else that might be beneficial to help us with our immune system? Well, I mentioned getting outside and getting a little sunshine. I know it's nice to sleep in a little more in the morning, but when I get home from work, there's not as much sunshine now. Did you notice that? And one of those things that's really good for our immune system is something called vitamin D. Have you heard of it? Vitamin D, here's a little secret about vitamin D. It's not a vitamin. We call it a vitamin because of the way it was discovered. It's actually a hormone. It's a hormone made in our skin, which is released into the bloodstream. It goes from there to the liver. The liver changes it into something that's quite active, and then it goes to the kidney, and then it's even more activated. And it ends up that vitamin D really helps fight all kinds of infections, both bacterial and viral infections. So a good idea to spend some time in the sun. Aren't you glad you don't live in Maine or southern Canada, right? What do they call Florida? The Sunshine State. And it gets so hot here that people don't go out at all in the summertime. And I'm surprised at how many I see who actually have vitamin D deficiency in Florida because it's hot out there and we're afraid to exercise outside. We're afraid to get outside and move. So I would encourage you to get some vitamin D. If you can't get out in the sun to get it, I work indoors. I can't get out. So I take a vitamin D supplement. That helps then my body have the extra hormone that it needs. Should I ask questions now? Anybody have questions about anything that they've heard? Yes, ma'am.
How much vitamin D do you take?
I take about 5,000 international units. Well, no, I don't remember to take it every day. You know, I say supplements are pills too, and I think eating food is probably the best way. It's reasonable to take some supplements, and vitamin D is one of those, especially for those that are indoors. It makes sense. Someone who is out in the sunshine all the time, what do we call them? A beach bunny, right? You know, they're highly tanned, they're out there all the time. Will run blood levels up to about 90 nanograms per mil. Anything below 30 is considered low. Folks who have dark skin, African Americans, tend to have about 50%, according to the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, 50% of African Americans are either insufficient or deficient in the vitamin D. So I think it's a good idea for African Americans to just take it, right? It's probably good for all of us to take at least a little bit some of the time, unless you live outside in the sun. Yes, sir?
I have sensitive skin, and I've always been worried about skin
That's a good thing to worry about. So he asks, because he tends to burn and he has sensitive skin, and that sensitive skin increases the risk for skin cancer. So should I get mine from a supplement instead? Or can I get out in the sun? It ends up that you really don't want to burn, but when the sunlight hits the cholesterol molecule in the skin, it changes it to vitamin D and actually protects you against the sunburn. The important thing is that you don't want to burn, because burning is when you're getting the damage to the DNA and proteins that can lead to skin cancer. So these studies have been done on medical students, healthy medical students, where they take a healthy medical student and I guess put them down to their skivvies, put them in the sun, measure their vitamin D level beforehand, and then after they get kind of just pink all over, not burned, but pink, and they make between about 10 to 20,000 international units a day. That would be about what it would be just to get a pink, right? And the recommendation, to have somewhere around probably 2,000 to 5,000 international units would be what I would recommend for the. You can take it as an oral pill as well, but it's a good idea to avoid burning. Yes, ma'am. Melatonin tends to help your immunity as well. There are all kinds of good things. Sleep, for example, which we think of melatonin, we think of sleep, don't we? So melatonin is the sleep hormone in our brain. It's very closely related to serotonin. Serotonin, of course, is the happy hormone. And at night, when we don't see any more light, the serotonin goes down and the body starts to turn those things into melatonin, so we sleep a little better. We know that I was just reviewing a twin study where they have identical twins who then one gets enough sleep and the other one doesn't, right? You actually have much better immune function in those that have adequate sleep, where if they don't get enough sleep, the immune system function tends to be depressed. The white cells don't run out quite as well. So yes, getting adequate sleep is important as well. And you probably know if you don't get enough sleep, you're kind of irritable, and that tends to stir up some other problems as well, doesn't it? It's okay to take melatonin as a supplement up to about 5 milligrams. So generally the realm of 2 to 5 milligrams at night may help you sleep. I suppose there's a lot could be said, but yes.
I remember hearing that the amount of sun you would need to get vitamin D is not very much. Like you could just go outside, maybe walk around. You don't have to be like that. Just walk around for about 10 minutes.
So walk around for about 10 minutes and that would be enough, right? Well, that's what I was taught, about 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes with your hand and wrist, head and neck exposed. But that assumes that you're getting some in your diet, number one. And number two, it assumes that your skin is white. And it doesn't work that way. When your skin's dark, it takes quite a bit more. What we need, our basic need, is probably closer to 1,000 IUs per day just to kind of get up where we need to be. From observation, the recommendation is to have a level of about 30 nanograms per cc, and that's going to take about 3,000 IUs per day, depending on your body. If you're large, because the vitamin D tends to go into fat tissue, you need more. So I don't think that small amount is actually accurate. It's based on some assumptions. The RDA is supposed to be around 400 to 600 international units. They raised it for older folks, 7-10 years ago, something like that. Because there's evidence that it can actually make a difference. So I don't think that's quite enough. I'm not ready to, go sunbathing. I work indoors, so I go ahead and take a supplement. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So vitamin D does not actually go through your clothes, or
You mean, can you make vitamin D from sun going through your clothes? Well, there are clothes that won't let the radiation through. Anytime you can get a sunburn, you can make vitamin D. So it's the same wavelength that makes sunburn that actually turns cholesterol into vitamin D. So that can be very beneficial. Yes, some clothes will let it through. Some clothes are made to block it, but we do get.
A regular cotton type t-shirt or something like that.
Often the sun can go through that. Yeah, that's good. So something else that's also beneficial for the immune system that we tend to be a little bit low in is zinc. Have you heard of zinc? The kitchen zinc? Yeah, okay. So zinc is a nutrient that comes in things like whole grains, nuts, and seeds. And because animals eat those, they also have those elements within them. And so it's interesting, we don't have a good way of measuring zinc in the body. We don't have an accurate way of measuring it. So it's rather hard to know. We can measure it in our blood, but we can have normal blood levels and still be deficient in the tissues. Zinc helps our immune system. If our immune system is low, or if our zinc is low, our immune system will be low. So taking some zinc is another one of those things that I'm willing to do as a supplement, just to kind of make sure I have enough. And I'm also encouraging patients to do that. You may know that zinc has also shown some evidence of benefit in people who have or are exposed to COVID, right? Because there's a lot of people that are low, and so taking the zinc is going to likely be protective. It has some antiviral effects. Yes?
Some of the literature indicates that if you take too high levels, it can tend toward Alzheimer's.
We don't want too much of anything, right? Water is good, but last I heard you could drown in it, right? So, I mean, there's too much, there's too little, and we would like to kind of go for the balance. So the recommendation is that you not take more than 40 milligrams a day of zinc. And that should be really very adequate for us. The RDA for that is somewhere in the realm of, if I remember correctly, 11 to 15, 17 milligrams a day, something like that. So zinc is actually fairly common in the body. It's behind calcium as far as elements are concerned. But it's one of the ones that is pretty important in the body. So it's worthwhile taking some zinc to help yourself as well. And of course, eat your nuts and seeds and whole grains as well. Very good. Well, I think if there aren't any more questions, I think we've probably used up an adequate amount of time for the ladies to have your food prepared. I was, for much of the cooking school, in here looking at the film and trying to figure out why in the world my mouth was salivating. That was just very, very fun, wasn't it? I mean, the food looks very good, and I know everybody will enjoy it. Well, I'll be here for a few minutes afterward if somebody has a question. Put my mask back on so I'm approachable, and I wish that you all have a good and healthy holiday. Thank you.
Before you leave, I would like to thank all the ones responsible for putting this on tonight. How about you?
We're keeping for another 5 or 6 minutes.
Okay. Now, Dr. Guthrie.
Yes, sir.
Do you have anything else that you would like to share? They said they need about another 5 or 6 minutes to have everything ready for the food for you to take with you. So you have another 5 minutes or so?
Well, I thought I had followed the rules. Well, you can ask now if you want.
I was going to ask you, what do you consider, like, in your blood and labs, Like, what's the highest you would want your vitamin D to be?
I got that message, and Denise was asking me a question. So Denise says, what's the highest blood level we would accept or would be safe for vitamin D? That's the question that she asked. And since they want more questions, you all start thinking about your questions, and I'm happy to answer what I can. So you don't start to have calcification problems until your vitamin D level is over about 150. If we're talking about osteoporosis, we would like to suppress the parathyroid hormone. And so parathyroid hormone will suppress best when you get your vitamin D level above 30. So that's where we consider to be best. So about, that's 30, so you got that range up to 150. I start to worry when we start to go over about 90 or 100. There's some stuff we don't know about long-term effects of vitamin D. Right now, our lab says normal is anywhere from 30 up to 80 nanograms per cc. And I think those are quite safe. I am personally more comfortable on the little bit lower side of that, so I usually think 30 to 50. But that's kind of my personal perspective. Yes, ma'am. She says walking is good exercise. She wants me to say something about how far and how fast. Well, the neat thing about exercise is that it doesn't have to be put together in one piece in order to be effective. You can break it up into smaller pieces and you still get the benefit. And you've probably heard, 30 minutes a day would be really beneficial. The more you can put in, of course, the better for you. It's interesting, for example, the effect on blood pressure doesn't have anything to do with how hard you exercise, but how long you exercise. So you could, for example, walk for 30 minutes briskly or run for 30 minutes, and it would have the same blood pressure lowering effect. I often encourage patients to walk for 10 or 15 minutes right after they eat, because that really helps the body start to put the energy away. It doesn't take so much insulin to make that happen. So it's just a good idea to keep active as much as we can. Those of us that have to work sitting in front of a computer, so we're sitting a lot of the time, this is not so good for us. Even if we have a bunch of exercise, at a particular time during the day. Let's say when I get home, I'm able to do 30 minutes or 40 minutes of heavy exercise, maybe do some weights. If I've been sitting all day, I'm worse off than if I were more active all through the day. So, those of us that are sitting at computers will do better to get up, get a drink. And the reason you get a drink is so you have to get up again and go to the bathroom, right? So the more we can move, the better it is for our bodies. So we can encourage us to keep moving. And I don't want people to exercise so much they hurt themselves. That's one of the most common problems when people are trying to get healthy. They're going to increase their exercise and they will twist their ankle, hurt their knee, fall, break a hip, anything that keeps them from exercise. So going slow is better. It's interesting, it's not more pain, more gain. It's actually just moving. And I kind of do it where I exercise up and then I'll run a little bit and then walk for a while. So I don't want my heart to go too high because that stresses the body out. But I want to keep it at a good steady rate. So I hope that's helpful. Yes, ma'am. Leaky gut. Oh, this is fun. That's what I was talking about when I talked about the microbiome. So I can expand on that a little bit more for you. Maybe you've heard of leaky gut. It's a fascinating way, the way our body is put together. The cells in the lining of our intestines are created on a regular basis in what we call the crypts. That is, they're the bottom of the little creases or canyons in the wall. And then they move up to the outside, and then they fall off. It's a 5 to 7 day trip, and they're continually being turned over. As they're moving up, they're supposed to be tied to the cell that is next to them. It's called a tight junction, okay? And if that junction is tight, everything is healthy. If that junction gets loose, then food will get in there, and the immune system will begin to react to that food. And it'll kind of set up an inflammatory process, and they call that leaky gut. So how do you take care of leaky gut? You'd like to avoid it. What can we do to make those cells stick together and makes those tight junctions really tight? What makes the difference is something called butyrate. Where does butyrate come from? Butyrate comes from good bacteria chewing on fiber, especially a type of fiber called inulin. And when those good bacteria chew on that inulin, they make lots of butyrate. The butyrate is then taken up by the cells, and those junctions get tight. Okay? And then, if they'll stay tight, that helps to quiet the immune system down. So people, for example, who, maybe you've heard about this, people who are wheat intolerant, there's a lot of people who are saying, I'm not taking any, gluten, that's out for me. There are very few people that are actually gluten allergic, so the small amount of them can cause problems. A small amount of gluten can make a lot of problems. But there's a lot of people who just feel better if they don't take the gluten. Well, gluten is one of those proteins that can sneak down in between those cells and kind of stimulate things to make them a little more inflammation, okay? So what we would do, we would say, the way we would treat that, we would say, okay, first you need to be on a high fiber diet, maybe even take some probiotics with some good bacteria, and then avoid the wheat completely for 3 to 6 or 9 months. And once that gut has a chance to heal, the immune system has had a chance to calm down, often you can add whatever that irritating food was back into the diet because the tight junctions are in place. Did that help? It is that simple. I mean, it can be more complex. For example, when that immune system is activated, it sends inflammation throughout the body. I mean, it can make a difference in your brain. If your brain is inflamed because the blood vessels are inflamed, it can lead you feeling depressed, right? I actually heard a lecturer, an OBGYN lecturer, say, I think it's this leaky gut and all the inflammatory stuff that comes out that is responsible for ovarian cancer and this thing called endometriosis. You know, we've said, well, maybe the endometrium sneaks out of the uterus into the rest of the belly and causes all those symptoms. No, the thought is it's all that inflammation that's stimulating some of those cells to actually turn into an endometrium type of an environment. So, you know, it's a very interesting topic that goes a long ways. I tried to put it simple, okay, so you can understand it. I have just gotten the message from my manager, okay, that time's up. So I'm here and happy to answer questions for a while individually, as we'll excuse the rest of you. Remember to be careful with your social distancing on your way out. I think there's some mouth-watering food back there waiting for you.
Thank you all so much for coming. Have a good evening and a safe holiday.
Oh, you're going to make some more? Very nice.
We miss you as more today.
Okay, we just have to remember. Let me just make sure it's working.